Hi. The landing in a job as a lecturer in the university in the March of 1968 was a turning point in my career as well as personal life. My parents, especially my mother, was talking about my getting married like any mother would do or like any parent would do. So, they were talking about it. And of course, not only that, my relations also were, looking for or suggesting about, so and so is there, would be a good combination, etc., etc. Well, the year went by, right through December. Then we shifted, geology department shifted to Karyavatam campus. And in the Karyavatam campus, once we reached there, because we were a 6 teacher strong department, and the classes were concluded both for first year and second year MSc on time by the last working day of March. The first year students went out for what is called their study leave. However, the second year also was on their study leave, but with a difference, because they had to do some work connected to their research report, which is part of the MSc Geology scheme of examination that was in force during those days. So those students would show up in the department in the optic lab or the library occasionally, and either in the forenoon or in the afternoon. And the teachers, lecturers especially, were taking it easy, like anybody would do during vacation. And those days, if you, whether or not you stayed in the laboratory, you will get, I think, 1 month's leave credit, so which is encashable of some, and you will get an extra month's salary. So what I did, I went to Bruce Menon and requested him that I may be, prevented from vacation. That is the phrase. So that I will continue with my investigation of what is called the insoluble residue of the Koilon limestone. Professor Menon agreed to that, and my name was recommended. Krishnanath also had some kind of a proposal like this, except Chako John, who wanted to go back home. Then, the month of April 1969, I just got hold of the tray full of samples of Koilon limestone, as well as the things that have been processed later on, like for example, sieved fractions of the insoluble residue, sieved fractions of insoluble residue, etc., etc. Then what I did was I took some pieces of the limestone and got it, both bottom and top surfaces evened out by grinding in the section lab. Then I made a request to our Patna to polish one side, because I wanted to see the depositional fabric of the rock and what is the relationship between fabric is the relationship between a particle, a mineral particle, with the mineral particles around it. Well, in a depositional environment, and especially in a diagenetic environment, it will be very instructive to know how these things are arranged. Plus, it also tells you about the depositional porosity and the extent of diagenesis that the rock had undergone, especially a rock like limestone. And the rock is, purely made of what is called micrite, that is mud-like carbonate particles. Not sparite. Sparite is calcite spar. They are larger crystals of calcite. Or aragonite, maybe. In this case, of course, in order to distinguish between calcite and aragonite, we will have to go through what is called alizarin red staining, and proposed by one time well-known chemical sedimentary geology specialist, Professor Gerald Friedman of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Troy, New York, upstate New York. Later on, of course, he moved down to New York University as a professor on a later occasion. But anyway, these things I knew only because of my reading of the journal, because carbonate rocks, modern carbonate sediments were the realm of work of Mr. Professor Friedman. So I just got, because, like I said, that on some occasion and some other episode, this library was excellent compared to the rest of the libraries in South India. I have not seen those days how was like the BHU library or University of Calcutta library or Delhi University library, but I have seen some of the libraries in the south, because we have all the leading journals in our subscription list, and also the modern journals also. For some reason, Professor Meron made it a point to get the journals subscribed to the library, because journals are a window to what is going on in the different areas of research in any field of science, culture, or whatever you want to say. Then, okay, I got hold of the tray with, like I said, with the insoluble residue. I was then Patna Sami got the polished sections not polished slabs, thin slabs. I started checking out the slabs in the binocular microscope, under the binocular microscope. I was seated in the room opposite to that of KV Kesar, and in the east wing, let us say, of the geology department. And of course, I was using the binocular microscope, making traverses, checking each and every grain that is visible in the highest magnification of the scarab size binocular microscope, occasionally, shining the light on the slab. Otherwise, most of the time I depended on the natural light which permeated through the open and glass window, actually, where we have arranged the desk. So one afternoon, around 2 o'clock, somebody was just asking me, hi, like that. I heard this kind of sound, and then I looked up, took my eyes from the eyepiece through the window to outside. I see my co-chairman, my second brother, outside. Then he just signaled me to go out, and when I went out, he told me that you have to be going with us. Us means there was another gentleman accompanying Gochetan. They were in what is called an ambassador taxi car, etc., etc. And of course, then I said, I have to get permission from Menon sir, only then I can come. So I went into Menon sir's office and told that, sir, can I go an hour or two early to home? There is my brother outside waiting for me. He said, all right, we will see tomorrow. Then I went back to the laboratory, put everything in proper place and stored it correctly, including the microscope. And then said, Krishna, sir, I'm going away. Then of course I walked out. I walked out of this building. I boarded the car. And then my brother said, this gentleman is so-and-so, Mr. Srikandan Nair. He works as a Tahsildar and from what is called the public office building in the revenue department. And then I said, what is going on? Then he said, see, remember the one gentleman from Shastamangalam, Mr. Badi Parameswaran Pillai, came over to our home and took your horoscope, etc., our birth chart, and gave a birth chart of a girl, etc. And you are going to see that girl to figure out whether you like or not. So I said, well, that is a proposition which I did not say I loved to, but I said, okay. So within 20-30 minutes, our car went into the medical college campus in Trivandrum, and the car went up to beyond the radiology department, made a turn to the right, and the so-called house surgeon's quarters, living quarters, was in that wing beyond the radiology, which is actually connected to the connected or disconnected. So when we stopped the car, the driver stopped the car, and Mr. Nair, the gentleman who traveled with us, he walked out and walked toward that porch of the hostel. By that time, a girl came out, and that is the girl who I am living with for the last 51 years. Anyway, so she came out, and then Mr. Nair spoke some words which we did not hear from where we were standing. Then Mr. Nair told me to go near to him and also my brother, and then I was told that this is your would-be if everything else goes well. And there was a perfect match with the birth chart of these two, me and her. Anyway, then what happens is, we were together there. All of us were rather not in the fashion that is prevalent these days. Leaving the two individuals on their own to have to exchange words or whatever. And I said, all right, that's fine, we will go. And then Mr. Nair, once we started in the car toward my home, asked, what is your opinion? I said, I have no complaints. I agree. All right, fine. Then, we went to what is called Venugopala Nilayam, a old-fashioned tea shop in the PMG junction. Now the Venugopala Nilayam is actually demolished, and this little property, a triangular property, still stands there and owned by some private or the so-called family who ran the Venugopala Nilayam. We had unniyappam and banana fry and tea, because those days there was no one-way traffic system. Our way up north and way south from Plamud to PMG was through the same segment of the road. The other segment now we are using as the southbound, for the southbound traffic. The street was there but was not used. Okay. Then of course I went back to my home. Rather, we were dropped at our home, and Mr. Nair said bye and went away. So that is how it all began. And then, naturally there was other ceremonial occasions. And after the ceremonial occasion, there were frequent meetings, etc., etc. And finally, in the month of August 18th, 1969, the big ceremony occurred, and the new life began. But now, back to our limestone slabs. The limestone slabs are, thin slabs, of course, 2 inches square, or because something that will be fitting into the stage of the binocular microscope. I came across some greenish looking capsule-like pellets. In other words, like a petrol tank. In other words, a cylinder and 2 hemispheres at both ends. That is a capsule. Or any capsule you will swallow as a medicine in the morning, or somewhere along the daytime. So this, not only that, this capsule-like pellets occurring in this slab, I have not seen those capsules in the insoluble residue of the limestone. That is the interesting part. Well, of course, because K.V. Kishan Nair sir was seated opposite to where I was sitting with the microscope. I just walked into Kishan Nair sir and said, "Sir, you want to see something interesting, in the limestone?" Well, he said immediately, "Yes, I would love to." Then he walked along with me, and I told him, "Sir, look at those green capsule-shaped pellets. I mean, they are larger than the micrite. They are probably in the fine sand grade. That's it." So Sar said, "What could be this? Did you refer to some books and to figure out what it is?" I said, "Sir, no, it is a serendipitous something. And I'm going to check with the books. However, there is one point of caution. The caution is, I have not come across this kind of stuff in the insoluble residue." Well, Kishan Nair was sort of, surprised. You have it in the slab, then it is not available in the insoluble. I told sir, because of the acid digestion, probably this was removed, dissolved off, along with so many other diagenetic minerals, like, sedimentary diagenetic minerals, sulfates, gypsum, for example. These are the possible things. Or barite. These are the diagenetic or sedimentary minerals and mineral deposits that actually occurs along with the sedimentary sequences. So we have to check how to recover the green pellet from the limestone without hurting it, without bleaching it, or without destroying it, that sort of thing. So I read through those, literature, and finally stumbled on something which said one has to use glacial acetic acid if the intention is to recover the entire family of not only silicates and oxides of iron and opaques, but also other diagenetic and non-carbonate minerals from a limestone. This is what Andrew Ireland mentioned somewhere now in his book, the chapter in the developments in sedimentology published by Springer. So I went through that book. Then the next question is, what is glacial acetic acid? The chemistry department is not in the Karyavatam campus. Chemistry is in Thiruvunanthapuram, and there are no chemists, expert chemists in the campus at all. So again, what is the recourse? Go back and read what is glacial acetic acid. There are some books, excellent books rather, in analytical chemistry. We had some good books published long ago, and that was used as the protocol for the chemical analysis of rocks and minerals. I will reserve this, the so-called green pellet and how it was recovered for another session.